Baptista, as you see on your little program, is an internationally renowned author, speaker, spiritual teacher, and psychic medium. She was a featured speaker for the Life, Death, and Beyond International Conference in Crete, Greece, and is the resident psychic for Clear Channel's Big Country 97.9 FM in northern Colorado. Sarina's son, JT, died when he was only 7 years old. Sarina lives with her family in Loveland, and her latest book is called My View from Heaven, a boy's story of his journey to heaven and the purpose of life on earth. This book was written by her son, JT, through Sarina, to answer questions about where he is, how he found his way, what he's doing now, and why we choose to come to earth in the first place. Sarina also has 2 other books, A Bridge to Healing, JT's Story, A Mother's Grief Journey and Return to Hope, and A Bridge to Healing, JT's Story Companion Workbook. If you would like to know more about Sarina Baptista, you can Google her name and go to her website online. She has a great website. You can learn all kinds of things, including the fact that she does teach many classes. So please help me to welcome Sarina Baptista.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you to the Longmont Library. This is just an honor for me to be here in your town. I do a lot of speaking around the country and internationally also, but I love it when I can be home. I love it when I can come home and I can do things here. So you basically said it all, so I don't think I need to say any more about who I am. Just that I did not have any idea who I was before my son left. I was actually a software engineer at one point. And so you can imagine, when your child passes, first of all, I know that there are people in this audience who have had that occur to them too. And when that happens, you go into this whole, it's almost like an alternate reality. And all I wanted to know was, where was my son? Where did he go? Did he just disappear? Is he on a cloud somewhere, waving? Where was my son? It was not long. I tell you, I have a persistent child, that is for sure. It was not long before he let me know that he was okay. He did it in the form of dragonflies. I know a lot of you have signs from your loved ones. Yes, dragonflies, butterflies, birds. Yes, also coins. People them leaving coins, feathers. I've actually seen feathers materialize out of nowhere. And then they're there. And then as quickly as they're there, then they disappear. It's just so that I know that he's close by. So about 6 months after JT passed, I had my first reading, and I would say it was a very interesting situation because I'd never been to a medium before. I will say I did go to a psychic once to find the love of my life. Did anybody do that? When will I meet my Prince Charming, right? This was, I wanted to talk to my son, and I had heard that's what mediums do. And so you don't just go flipping through the phone book, at least I didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I got a recommendation from a friend of mine in California, and the medium was in California. And so I called her, or she called me. I think she called me. And then throughout the conversation, she started saying things like, I see a contract with thick ink on it. Did you sign for a house, buy a house? And I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, oh, this is your contract. And again, I don't know what you're talking about. What does that even mean? She says, this is what you signed, quote unquote, before you came into this incarnation. And you said you wanted this experience. And I said, well, I'm smoking crack or something over on the other side, just like the rest of us, right? I mean, who chooses this, right? Who chooses to have, your child pass? But as time went on, and JT was so much more present with me, and he gave me messages through other people. He gave me, obviously, the signs. There was no denying that he was really there. There was no denying. He would move things around in the house, which absolutely kind of tripped me out, because I thought, how did my 3-year-old get up there and move that? Because things were high. He had this shelf that he had his Matchbox cars on, and the cars would actually be taken off the top shelf and put on the ground. And my 3-year-old does not know how to, you can't climb up that high. And again, I had no idea that this was JT. I thought that I was going crazy. Oh, I must have moved it. Oh, I must have whatever. I mean, that's what you think when you start receiving these signs and messages from the other side. You think, this can't be real. Who does this happen to? Persistent, though. That boy was persistent, because he kept doing it. And then in that reading, again, when we go back to the contract, what she said was, did you know you're a medium? Did you know that you are the bridge between this world and the next? After I stopped laughing, I said, well, how in the world does one do that? How do you do something like that? And so she said, training. So, and I thought, okay, and all the way up to this point, people had been telling me that JT had big plans for me, that there was something big that I was going to do with him. And I thought, well, you just kind of hurry this up, because I've been waiting a long time, a whole 6 months, right? So when the medium said that, when she said, you're a medium, I thought, oh my God, that's it. That has to be it. And so I got validation, as the universe does. I'm questioning, going, no, that can't really be it. That can't really be true. It must be, it must be something else. Then the universe gives me another sign. JT gives me another sign. Yes, no, you are a medium. And so I, again, immediately got into training. And it came very, very quickly to me, very quickly, to the point where it was a little, unnerving is a good word, when you are awakened in the middle of the night by spirits who want to talk to their parents. Because it was kids, it was mainly kids, and that was my focus in the beginning, was getting messages to parents. But in the beginning, again, I had no idea really what I was doing, just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, learning as much as I can, as quickly as I can. But the first child that came to me, I was only 2 weeks into training. And I had to figure out who it was and get the message to the parent, and I did. I was able to do that, and the person actually received it. Who here has seen Long Island medium? Talked to seen any other mediums, John Edward or anything like that? John Holland, who's an amazing guy. And this isn't all about mediums. I'm just bringing this up because we do handle life in a little bit different way. Since we do talk to the other side, it puts a little bit different flair on our lives. And so when you watch those, programs like Long Island Medium, where it's like everything, she allows everything to come through. I'm not like that. You catch me walking down the street and you wouldn't even know that I was a medium. You wouldn't, I don't have that. I'm not going to say it. I was going to say airy-fairy look, but that's not, I don't want to insult, that's not an insult to other mediums by any means. But I'm pretty normal. Well, okay, maybe not normal, but pretty, you walk down the street and you wouldn't have any idea that I talk to my son, that I lost my son, that he is with me every day, and that he's just this amazing force that has left a huge impression on not only my life, but others' lives as well. I was bound and determined to help other parents who were going through what I was going through. And so I wrote my first book, A Bridge to Healing, JT's Story. And that's about my grief journey and how I found JT again. And then it was, I quickly moved into training other people on how to connect. And believe me, if it wasn't happening to me, I wouldn't believe this. I wouldn't believe any of this. Because, I mean, gosh, this was, March 2007. And by September is when I found that I was a medium. By January, I was starting teaching. And again, it's not me who's doing it. It's them. It's my son. It's your loved ones. They're the ones who are teaching or coming through me to teach you how to do these things. But then the second book is the workbook that teaches how to walk through what I was taught. It's actually a pretty simple process. As soon as that was out, the day that was published, JT comes in, he goes, okay, it's time to write my book now. And I said, can you just let me sit for a minute, please? Because I just wrote 2 books in like 2 years. So can we just hold on? He goes, no, this has to get out there. We have to get this information out, Mom. And you're the one, you're going to have to do it for me. I obviously can't use a typewriter right now. Mm-hmm. So what we did, I said, well, how does this work? How does this even work? He says, well, you hear me, right? And I said, yes. And he said, you just write down my words. You just write down what I tell you. And so we began that. Now, I did try in the beginning with a typewriter, or not typewriter. That shows my age. Okay. All the millennials are going, what? Computer. I was typing on my computer, but it was too slow. He was talking too fast. So I'd have to have him stop and say, okay, can you say that again? And it really it took so long, and it lost a lot of the meaning. So what we did instead was I did a voice to text. I used a microphone and did a voice recognition program into Word. And that went much faster, but of course you can, Word makes up words. Word makes up words. So I'd have to go back pretty quickly before it was lost and correct. And that's how we did My View from Heaven. Has anybody read My View from Heaven? Excellent, great. A few of you, fabulous. Thank you, everybody else, and those who read it for coming tonight and just being open to hearing this. Because this, to me, if I was sitting there, I'd go, ooh, that lady's out there. But it really is, now it's my life. Now this is who I am, and it's so amazing what happens when we do open up to that guidance and to our loved ones and to those who are kind of in the know, let's say, about our lives. It's just incredible when that happens. So we got, the crux of it done. But what he would do is he would give me one of these concepts. And for those of you who read the book, you know what I'm talking about. Some of this stuff was out there. I had never heard this stuff before. And I really thought, okay, there's something wrong with my noggin here. I must not be hearing him correctly. Because he's talking about, choosing lifetimes and, getting a preview of our lives on the other side and, coming in with our soul family. And he's talking about, balancing the energy between lifetimes and things like that. And I thought, my God, I'm barely handling this life. How do I even consider, the other lives that he's talking about? And how we move into this lifetime, and how we exit out of this lifetime. That was a really hard one to write. He gave me, when you read the book, and I have an opportunity for you actually to download the book for free, and I'll explain that in a minute or a few. He explained to me what happened in his process of transition. It was really hard for me to hear that being mom, because part of it, was on me. As a parent, you want to protect your child. You want to, it's just an innate thing that that we are supposed to make sure that they're okay, and do the things, take the steps that we're supposed to do in order to make sure that they're okay. And boy, when you've lost a child, you certainly feel like a failure. I'll tell you that. But one of the things that he said was, no, Mom, you had nothing to do with this. You're off the hook. You had nothing to do with this. This was me. I needed to leave. I needed to leave. I needed to go. And I didn't understand that. I didn't get that. He told that to me before, too. It was probably about, oh gosh, I think it was in the first couple of weeks after he left, after he transitioned. And I'd say left and transitioned. He doesn't like it when I say that he's died, because he says, I'm not dead, Mom. I'm right here. And so I have to catch myself. Excuse me. This is why I have water. I have to catch myself and not say he died, because he didn't. He is still here. He's right beside me here. He's helping me tonight, and the same with your loved ones as well. They don't die. That energy is still there. You can't destroy energy. That's the law of energy, right? It can never be destroyed, but it changes form. And that's one of the things that he taught me. But in the first, I'd say, couple of weeks, I knew that somebody had information about why he left. And I had no idea, but I was sitting at my computer, and there was a list in front of me of the names and phone numbers that other people graciously called to let them know that JT had passed. I won't say passed right now. He doesn't even like that one. And so I said, one of these people on this list knows why he left. I mean, this was in the first couple of weeks, and I knew there was a reason. I knew it because my daughter had the same virus, which was influenza A, the same virus. They got the same symptoms at the same time. Her fever was worse. She was 5, he was 7. Her fever was worse. I was really concerned about her. He had not so much, because of course, it's the flu. You get over the flu, right? You come back and you get over the flu. Not this time. And I found out that, that people do leave by the flu. In fact, what JT says, it was actually a very peaceful way to go. So that was a small consolation for me at the time. But I ran my finger down the list of people, and I stopped on a name, and I don't know why. Again, I had no idea I was a medium. I had no idea I was being guided. I had no idea. I was just a grieving mom. And I stopped at this name, and it was the mother of a friend of mine, that same friend who recommended the medium. It was her mother, lived in California, and I'd only met the woman once or twice. But I said, she knows. And I remember this so clearly. I said, she knows. Picked up the phone, called her, and I said, she answered, and I said, this is Sarina. Why? That's all I said. She says, well, funny you should call. JT visited me last night. Go get a paper and a pen. I've got messages for you. So, after I, my jaw, picked up the jaw from the floor, I went and got a paper and a pen. And the first thing that he said was that he had to leave. He tried twice before, but couldn't leave me. This time he had to go. That was the first one, and I was so confused. I'm going, what does that mean? And the second one was, I was the perfect mom. I did everything perfectly. Now, I kind of beg to differ on that one, but and then the third one was that I could not have stopped what was happening. So when he was sick, he got sick on a Monday, and I went into his room on a Friday, and he wasn't breathing. And he says, even he told me later, once I had connection with him, that he didn't want to die in a hospital. He wanted to be at home. And so conveniently, I got food poisoning the night before he passed, and I couldn't even get out of bed. And so I couldn't get him to the hospital. I'm laying there, going, okay, should I take my kids to the hospital? And I said, I can't even get up. I can't even get up out of bed, let alone, take a child to the hospital. So I said, no, he's going to be okay. Well, he wasn't, obviously. So can you imagine, right, the guilt that I felt because I didn't get him to the hospital. But that third message was that I wasn't going to be able to stop what was happening, that he was going to leave. That's it. He was going to leave. So having these things in my hand, of the three things that he told me, it took me a long time to process those. And he had to help me with it. It was, like I said, I found I was a medium at 6 months in, and then by about 9 months, I could have good connection and communication with him, and lots of questions. And he would tell me things, again, about the accounts of how, of what happened when he passed. He did come out, he was out of his body. He did see everything that I was doing. I was trying CPR, and everything. I was screaming at him a lot. And he could see all of that because he was observing from outside. And that's a thing that you hear often from near-death experience people. Who here has had an NDE? You too? Anybody else? Wow. Oh, back there. Oh, excellent. And you. Thank you very much. This is a big deal, right? You don't look at life ever the same after an experience like that. So he gave me the account of what happened. He was out of his body. He tried to come and get me and wake me up, but then he realized that he wasn't supposed to do that. He had helpers. He had this wonderful energy. Her name is Hope, and she is the one who is guiding him all through this process to not wake me up, to send me out of the room, because I was actually in the room. My fever broke, and I was in the room with him in the early hours of that Friday morning. But he sent me to my room to get some sleep, and it was in that 2-hour time frame that he left. And that was very purposeful because he knew that I would try to save him, and he was not going to stay, period. So from there, again, the concepts that he was telling me about, coming out of the body and then going wherever he could go, wherever he wanted to. He just thought about it, and boom, he was there. And it was like he was floating, but not in like water. It was like he was floating in air, but it was more viscous, is how he described it. It was very interesting how he described the passage that, from when he left his body and he was kind of floating around and getting into these different spaces and energies. And then, and then coming back and checking on me, because they don't leave. I mean, their job is to, first kind of cross over, as we put it, get into a higher vibration, into a higher energy place, and then they can come back anytime and chat with us, anytime they want. So he definitely had to go there to get that taken care of, but then he was just traveling. And the stuff he was telling me when he was traveling, about, once I had the connection with him, about his journeys, was just incredible. I mean, he told me about the planets and about the, different solar systems and different places that we come from, different places that our souls come from, and not only here, but in other galaxies and things like that. And again, cuckoo, thought I was cuckoo hearing this, because, I mean, who talks like this, right? Who talks about this stuff? Well, my son does, and now I do. And now you'll find a lot of other people do too. There are a lot more people who are talking about these kinds of things and about, where we come from and, and what we're doing here and all of that. The biggest thing, though, he said, I mean, there's a lot of information in his book, and you can read that on your own. But the huge thing is, we come here for experience. We come here to experience life in our way. So a good example of that is, we ask for certain lessons before we come into this space. And these could be, overall life lessons, or they could be repeats from other lifetimes. because we don't always get it, right? From other lifetimes. And who has had a past life regression, things like that? Yes? Okay, excellent. Anybody over on this side? A few of you? Okay, excellent. So you kind of know what I mean about, the carrying things forward from lifetime to lifetime. We come with our soul family. And this is something I had never heard before. Again, now I understand it a lot more. But we have a group of souls that we like to incarnate with. JT and I like to do the mother-son thing. We do, I have looked at a lot of the other lifetimes that we were together, and it was usually mother-son. It's just, we're comfortable with that. Whereas my husband, we do the parent-child thing usually, so I don't know why we're doing a partner thing this time. But but of course, there's always reasons for these things. Where one of the huge things that happened to me after JT left, it was 4 months after he left, is I had what's called a between life regression. Has anybody heard of that? Okay, excellent. What that is instead of going to a past life, you go to the in-between state when you are choosing your life. Again, I was only 4 months into my grieving process. I had enough of an experience, enough of a real experience to believe it. But again, I was dealing with a lot of grief. So I would say, now probably I'd have a much better, a much more crisp experience. But the thing that I remember most is, getting into that in-between state and seeing JT in the distance, and he just runs toward me. And of course, I'm on the ladies' couch just bawling my eyes out because my son is right there and I can see him and I can hug him right in that space there. And then the first and only question I had for him was, did we agree to this? Because that's what I was told, right? People said, you agreed to this. This is your contract. So that was my one and only question that I had to him was, did we agree to this? And so what he did was, we were instantly in this place where I was an observer looking into a room, and there was the soul family, and I recognized everybody from their soul who's incarnated now into, my husband, my other son, my daughter, and JT and me, and we're sitting at this table thing. Why it was a table, I don't know, probably for my own benefit. And I heard myself saying, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, let's do it. I thought, what? And I knew exactly what I was talking about. I knew that I was agreeing to have him leave early so that I could discover who I was. And, and other family members, like my daughter, my husband, my other son, they also had experiences that they needed from this too. But after I saw that, 4 months into my grieving process, it kind of messed me up for a while because I thought, I did this to myself. How could I do that? How could I do that to myself? And who was I grieving? That was the other one. Who was I grieving? Because that wasn't really, he was my son in this incarnation, but he was my soul friend on the other side. So it was very confusing. And I remember sitting in his room that night. I would sit a lot in his room. And there was a mobile that he had made in kindergarten that hung on the ceiling. And he could get it to move on cue. No air in the room. Nothing, and I test, I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer, so I got to make sure. I'm also a skeptic. You can't just say blah blah and I'm going to believe it. I need some proof in quotes. So I was sitting on the floor and I said, I don't even know if that was real what happened today. Did I really see you? Did you really take me to this place where I saw myself agreeing? Did we really do that? And I sat there and I looked up. I was right underneath the mobile. I looked up and it was going crazy. I mean, just crazy, spinning and then reversing and spinning. And it was him saying, it was me. You've gotta believe me, Mom, it was me. Like I said, 4 months in, I didn't even know I was a medium. That to me was proof. That was my proof that I said, yeah, I'm going to agree to this. So when you think about that and you think about your life and the trials and tribulations through which you've had to endure, it kind of puts the onus on you, doesn't it? Because you say, okay, so all this stuff has happened to me, and maybe you don't understand exactly why. I mean, we don't understand everything about our lives and why things happen. But we can start to notice patterns. I mean, I have patterns that I continually work on in my life. One is patience. Anybody with me on that one, right? It's like, I want it now. Give it to me now. That's not what my soul wants to learn. It wants to learn to be patient, to sit with things, to sit. There are plenty of opportunities that I get in my work to just sit with things and not respond, just sit and absorb. And that's what I've asked. That's what my soul asked to learn to do. Because in my previous life, meaning, before JT left and all of that, I was you said something and I didn't agree with you. I was in your face. I can't believe that you would say that. How could you say that? Because that's just not true. Because blah, 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 blah. And here my son passes and I start talking to dead people. So, who am I to say what you believe or, what happens in your life is not true for you. So I have to sit with it and let it process. So that's one of my things. The other thing of obviously, when we're talking about huge losses, is that there is always a purpose and a plan. We talk now, right now, some crazy stuff is happening on the planet. I mean, really, really crazy. Crazy in the United States right now. No matter what side of the shore you're on, no matter, who you believe or, who you back or whatever, it's craziness. And the one thing that JT always reminds me about this is that those people who are participating in whatever it is, hold on, everybody's sitting, that's good. I might need to sit. Those people participating asked for the experience. I know. That gets me every single time. But he keeps repeating it, saying that, yes, those people who are having these things happen have requested from their higher self, from their soul, to have the experience. Now, when you think of some atrocities, right, that's really hard to grasp because you say, how could somebody ask for that? And here I am saying, look what I asked for. Look what I asked to experience. And I saw myself doing it. I saw myself agreeing to it. JT also comes in, when I have these moments where, because I'm a pretty passionate person, pretty empathetic, and when things happen, and I get the whiff of it or get the information about it, I go, JT, what? What's going on? He says, remember, Mom, that's the experience they need to have for whatever reason. It could be that they need the experience to move them into a different direction. That's one of the things that we get all the time. I get them all the time, right? The brick wall falls in front of you and you keep running into it. I don't keep running into mine now because I can see the wall now. But I didn't used to. My 30s were a mess, run into the wall. And I finally thought, maybe somebody's trying to tell me something. Maybe I'm supposed to go a different way. Has anybody ever thought that? Right? You get smack, and you're going, something's got to change here. The trick is that accepting that it has to change, and then being able to move into the direction that you're supposed to move into. And that's where a lot of us get stuck. A lot of us do get stuck in that space where, we know we need to make a change, but it's really hard for us to get out of what we're in and move into a different space. And that's where I have found, that I call them my peeps, my helpers, those who can see things for me that I can't see down here, because regardless of being a medium, regardless of being able to see dead people and talk to them, I'm still a human here. I'm still a human having this experience. So I still am at in this place, and I don't see everything for myself. I might see it for you, but seeing it for myself is very different. So I always say to JT, okay, what do I need to do here? What's for my highest good? How do I move into a different space? How do I move into a place that I'm supposed to be? Because I know that if I keep hitting this brick wall, I'm not going to get anywhere. It's not helping me. So that's one of the things that we get to experience here is trying to push the wall when we just need to turn around and go a different way. So think again of situations in your life where you have hit the wall. Maybe you're hitting it now. I see some of you. I see some of you are hitting it now. And what does your soul want to learn? What does your soul want to learn from this? Does your soul want you to go a different direction? That's a better direction for you. Or are you supposed to push through the wall? Because that is possible. That is possible to push through the wall. The way to know the answer really is, tuning in to your higher self, to your soul, to your helpers on the other side. And that has been, like I said, a godsend for me, I'll tell you. The reason we're here tonight, though, because JT's reminding me, get back on task, Mom. We've got to talk about heaven, right? You came to talk about heaven. Where's heaven? Where is heaven? Where do you think heaven is? Anybody? I love that. In your heart. Where else is heaven? Bueller? What? Right here. Excellent. Yes, right here is heaven. If we create it for ourselves, right? If we create it for ourselves. Oh, you're just rubbing your eye. She's just going, I'm just scratching, okay? I don't really want to talk. Heaven is a vibrational place. Heaven can be here, right now, right here. If we choose it, if we create it. And that leads me into talking about creation. We are co-creators, and who's heard this? A few? Okay. The rest of you are probably going to, oh my God, I can't believe can't believe what she was saying. Trust me. Co-creators of your reality. Okay, so what that means is that what you think about yourself becomes reality. So if you say to yourself, I can never get things right. Why would anybody love me? Because, I'm ugly. Why would anybody love me? I'm not fun. I'm just boring. What do you think happens when you put that energy out? When you put that energy out into the universe? What happens is it comes to you. It comes back to you. So when we talk about heaven, where is heaven? We can create, when we say, we can stop ourselves and we can say, okay, my programming is, because we learned this stuff. This is not stuff we come in with. We learn how to self-criticize ourselves. So when you say to yourself, I'm ugly, nobody's going to love me, stop. And this is what I do. I say, no, that's not true. I am beautiful. I am a child of God. Whatever that is to you, I am a divine spark, and I am lovable. And immediately shift that energy into a different space. Shift it into something that is positive for you. Okay? That's the beginning. That's the beginning of creating heaven here. Now, when we talk about our loved ones who leave, again, JT gave me this incredible story, or incredible, I guess it's a story of what happened and how he got to heaven. Again, the book's called, it's Journey to Heaven, right? So how he gets there and what that space is for him. And what that space is for him, it's this high vibration energy. And again, everything in the universe is energy. We are all energy. Everything around us is energy. JT is energy. Our loved ones who have passed are energy. They're just at a different level. And it's not a hierarchical level by any means. It's a vibrational level. It's a different energy. And a vibration is the way in which something, it's the frequency of it. And the way that JT described it to me was, here in bodies, we're pretty dense. And our vibration is kind of heavy, because we have this denseness around us. And so that vibration is like this. If you were to put a frequency to it, it would be like this. JT is like that, very fast frequency. And so what we need to do, or what we can do as humans, is raise our vibration, raise our frequency to meet those on the other side. And that's all I do when I do readings, is I raise my vibration, I lift it up through meditation, number one, and intention, number two. Lift it and raise it up to the point where they can meet me, and then that's where we talk. That's where I talk to JT. And that's the same for all of you. I mean, I'm not here saying you can, I don't think you all want to be mediums. But what you might want is to be at higher frequency so that your creations are more positive for you in your life instead of the denseness that we have. So when you're this versus this, then your thought process is very different. You think in terms of three-dimensional. You think in terms of earthly. Where JT is, where I go when I raise my vibration, is I think of myself in terms of energy. And at that energetic level, anything is possible. Anything can be created. Now again, JT wants me to remind everybody, if you came in and said you wanted to learn a specific thing of hardship in some way, then you're going to learn it. You are going to experience that because that's what your soul asked to experience here. But you get to choose, we have free will, and you get to choose how that manifests for you. You get to choose whether it is, you're really stuck in the mud with it, whether you can maybe raise your vibration, start meditation, raise your vibration, get to a higher place so that you can kind of see out over the crowd. You can kind of see out over the muck. Because when you're here and you're just seeing things like this, then how do you see what's best for yourself? You really can't. Raising your vibration, you can see a little bit higher, and you can ask for help, again, from your divine helpers, and they can assist you in seeing what's for your highest good, or at least directing you there. I may not be able to see it because it's so personal. Take my kids, for example. Rearing my children, right? Doing what's right for my children, based upon what they asked to experience here too. They asked to lose a brother, someone who was very close to them. They asked for that experience. So taking that into consideration, and also having to be a parent and having to, make sure that I'm teaching them the things that they need for life. I certainly need JT's help a lot for that. Just last night I was asking, I said, can you just go talk to your sister? Because I just can't. And sure enough, she comes in. She goes, "Did you send somebody into my room?" She's super sensitive, so she knows when I do that stuff. But sometimes we just need that. We need that assistance. We need to be able to see it. We need to be able to be shown it in order to find out what's best for me. Because it really is about you. Now, what's for your highest good is going to be for the highest good of everyone around you, too. Because even if it's uncomfortable for them, separations are uncomfortable, aren't they? But if you imagine that separation, not being there, and you staying in that situation, that's worse. That's worse for your soul. Your soul doesn't need that, doesn't need to have that experience. Separation can be painful, but it can be for your highest good. And again, asking the question, is this for my highest good? I'm asking him. This is kind of run by him, and I try not to take over. So I want to make sure that we're covering the things that he wants to cover. So he wants to talk to you now, and because I know based upon the things that we were saying, I know people have questions. So let's go ahead and just jump right in to questions. Who has a question about what we've been talking about? And that will lead to other discussion as well. Yes?
So the relationship that you've been built with Jesus since his passing, how has that affected the relationship with your because it seems like your closeness to him might have negated some of the other closeness that you have with him.
That is a very good question. So what she asked, since we don't have a mic, she asked how my relationship now with JT, because of the closeness that we have, how that has affected the relationship that I have with my physical family here. And you're absolutely right. It's a balancing act. It really is, because JT and I are together all the time, and I am constantly talking to him and receiving from him, and working with him, etc. But what that means is that when I'm with my family, I have to be present. I can't be out here talking. I have to be present with them. And so it is a conscious thing that I have to do to be present with them. Because it is easy for us who are spiritual. JT laughed at that word. Let me see what he wants. It's not a thing about spiritual. It's those of us who are out here, out here talking to the other side, to higher vibrations. It's easy to stay there because it's so dang good right there. It feels so dang good to be in that space with him. It really does. That being here in 3D it can be painful for some of us. And so it is a conscious thing that I do, that I, ground myself, I bring myself back in so I am present with my family. That's a very good question. Yes?
Where is God in all of this?
Everywhere. God is everywhere. So it depends on your version of God. My version of God is an energy, an omnipresent energy. And being that energy, he's everywhere. And I say a he, but it's not really a he, it's an it. I hope I'm not offending anybody, because that's not what I don't want to offend anybody with that. That part of the divine, God, is within me, is within you, is within everybody here. And so God is everywhere. And the way that I look at it is when JT goes, and when he went back to the other side, he met up with that universal energy. He met up with that conscious energy that I term God. So that's my version of it. I do believe that whatever your beliefs are is how things will occur for you when you transition. So if you do believe in a physical manifestation of God, let's say Jesus, then that's what you experience when you leave. I've had plenty of clients come in whose loved ones have said, yes, Jesus was waiting for me, because that was their belief. That was their belief system. So to me, there are no absolutes in that. Everybody has a different experience. Yes?
I'm a little confused. We're here to experience
Yes.
of something that we needed to come back and experience.
Not necessarily come back. Sometimes, a lot of it, well, okay, let me just ask JT how he wants me to phrase this, because he's so much better with these words. Most of us have been here plenty of times. Plenty. And most of us have not finished our lessons from other lifetimes, because we just maybe run out of time, we just don't get to it, free will, etc. So we can bring those forward and say, we get over to the other side and go, oh man, I didn't really get that. I didn't really do that the way that I wanted to do it. So, what was that? You're saying, I'm not. Yeah, you're right, exactly. So then we can say, okay, let's do it again. Let's do a variation of it. It will not be the same. It'll be a variation of it, because that's boring. Boring. We're not, and that's the one thing that we are not on the other side or here incarnate. We're not boring. So we say, okay, let's try this again. But then there's other things that we say, I have never experienced like the loss of a child. I think I want to experience that. So we have new things that we come in with too.
But then what do you mean then when you say, sometimes we're here and we run into a brick wall and we need to sidestep? Isn't that the lesson that we need to learn?
Not necessarily. A good example is that when I was in my late 20s and early 30s, late 20s, I was with a man who I thought I was going to marry, thought I was going to, I thought he was my soulmate, and I kept hitting the brick wall. I mean, I even had very descriptive dreams of trying to fit things together that didn't fit. I woke up one morning soaked because I tried to take my glass of water and put it into my radio. And it ended up, thank God I didn't get electrocuted, but I ended up and I go, oh my God, what was that about? And then it came to me that I am trying to fit things where they're not where they can't fit with this man. And so I needed to leave him. And so that's what I did. But I kept hitting that wall and I kept saying, oh no, love will get us through. We love each other. Love will get us through. He was very abusive. But I kept running into that wall. What my guides were trying to say is, turn around. You don't need to be there. So in those cases, they put the blocks up and they say, please listen. Please pay attention and go the other way. I know that it's going to take, it's a lot to absorb. Believe me, again, when he was telling me these things in this book, I had to walk away. I had to walk away from the book. I had to I'd save the document and go, okay, honey, we got to take this up another time because you just blew my mind. And I'd have to let it sit for a bit, and then it would kind of assimilate, and then I would be able to go back and continue.
Then how do we, if we keep running into that brick wall,
and
we know that pattern,
yes,
how do we get out of that pattern?
That's the age-old question, right? So you turn around. So it takes, a lot of it is, how we feel about ourselves. In my case, it was personal power, giving all my power away to other people. So we learned that lesson. The lesson was, reclaiming my personal power. And then I was able to say, you are not the right one for me, and I'm leaving. So that's kind of the end result that we're looking for is, what do I need to learn? And that I always ask this, when something happens in my life, because things aren't random. There are no coincidences. Things happen in an organized way, although it seems like organized chaos. But things happen because they're supposed to happen a certain way. So when that does happen and go, oh my God, I didn't even see that coming. I'm the psychic, didn't even see that coming. Then I say, what am I supposed to do here? What am I supposed to learn here? And a lot of times it could be as simple as just let it go. Just let it go. And letting it go, that's part of my thing too, the patience and letting it go, just letting it release. And then I'm able to see, then the wall goes away. And I can see, I can keep walking forward because it goes away entirely. Well, I encourage you to get the book, definitely, because
Well, I just went to a seminar on listening to the head or listening to the heart.
right? Yes.
And I guess I was shocked because I do too much head and not
Most of
enough
us do.
heart.
Yes. What she's saying is she does more head thinking than heart feeling, and letting the mind lead her instead of letting the heart lead her.
Correct.
And I don't know if you know this, but the Heart Math Institute has done some wonderful studies about the electromagnetic field around our hearts. And guess what? The electromagnetic field around our hearts far surpasses the electromagnetic field around our brains. Far surpasses. And the electromagnetic field around the earth is connected to the electromagnetic field around our hearts. So what we do matters to everybody else here, even in a little bitty way. It matters. Yeah, awesome. I'm glad you went to see that. Yes.
Yeah, I was just asking about communicating with others that aren't here. You did mention tying in dreams to that. And I
Right.
just wonder how that all fits in. The reason why I ask is because ever since I was a child, I've had dreams that are extremely unusual, especially
Oh, wow.
especially when it's in regards to people who aren't here, and even people that I've never met before. But then the next day, I find out something that ties into that dream, almost like
Prophetic.
Yeah, or premonition.
Right. Prophetic dreams.
And I'm
Yes.
just wondering how that kind of ties into it because
Yes.
dreams are a huge thing for me.
Yes.
And happened since I was a child.
Yes, absolutely. And I would say, dreams are hugely, we all dream. And it's, you are obviously open intuitively and psychically to receive those prophetic dreams. And most of us, JT's laughing at me again, all of us, he wants me to correct that. We all leave our bodies when we're sleeping, and we go to the energy space. We all do this. So my guess is that you go there a lot. You go to that energy space a lot, and you're meeting these people, and you're having these experiences. I know a lot of people who go to what they call the temples, which is basically on the other side where you do a lot of learning. And they go like every night. I would get exhausted. That's too much learning. But yeah, absolutely. The dreams and the visitation dreams from your loved ones as well. Those are real. They're coming in and they are letting you know that they're okay in whatever way they can. Now I know I don't get very many dreams from JT anymore because he says my dream sequence is messed up. So, by sleeping and all of that, he can't get in to the sequence correctly. In order for it to be a visitation, it turns into something really, really weird. It turns into a process dream. I had one after he left where he got murdered. He tried to get into my dream, and it turned into murder for him and for his sister. So it was this horrible process dream. When you lose a child, crazy things happen to your mind, and you think, all your kids are going to die. So that was a process dream, and I screamed at him afterward. I said, "What the hell was that?" It wasn't me, he says. He tried to get in, and he couldn't. So if you say, "Oh, my loved one never comes to me in dreams," it might be because you have a messed up dream sequence like me. But absolutely, I would write those down if you don't. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you a weird example of what I'm talking about, where you wake up and you're like,
What happened?
It's because, one night I had a dream I was at a Hollywood party, and in the party I met Walter Matthau. And Walter Matthau, I'm not even a fan, I just know who he is. The next day I'm driving to work, I turn on the radio, he died that night.
Oh, wow. See, that's awesome.
This kind of stuff happens
Yes.
constantly.
Yes.
I mean, weird things where I wake up and I turn on TV and it's like, okay,
That just happened in your dream.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the effect that it leaves me with. And this is happening
Yeah.
all the time.
And the thing with that is, I used to have prophetic dreams about earthquakes. I lived in California, so you can imagine how scary that was. And I finally had to shut it down. And this was before I knew I was a medium or anything, but I'd have a dream about an earthquake. Within a day or two, it would happen somewhere in the world. And it scared me so much that, again, I had to shut it down. But that's because I didn't know how to handle it. What I would say for you is get some training, enhance your intuitiveness and your psychicness, and then that way you'll be able to direct it. There's what they call lucid dreaming and things like that. You'll be able to direct it.
And I can do lucid dreams.
Awesome.
I've done that, like where I've had a dream where my daughter and I are walking along and she says something to me and I can say to her back, oh, we're in a dream and I manipulate.
Oh, that's great.
It's the craziest thing.
That's awesome.
But, that's probably like the only thing that I've had a slide in my training in dreams. But
Right.
it's just,
I would say continue that. Yeah, definitely, because
very unusual.
dreams can give you so much information. They can give you a ton of information. Again, remember that dream where I was trying to stick my water glass into my radio? It was trying to stick something round into something square. And so it was trying to tell me, get out, get out. Any other questions? Yes?
How about, you hear about demons
Uh-huh.
and evil, and I have heard that Boulder and this area has many, many demons.
I've not run into any myself. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I need to repeat these things. She was asking about demons and what if basically, are they real, or is that what you're asking, or what about them?
That's what I've interpreted.
And that this, that Boulder and this area has been you've heard that there's a lot of demon energy here. I have not felt that. I do not. I keep my vibration at a level where I don't deal with any of that. And I know that there are some, I have never encountered anything close to a demon at all in any of my stuff. I've met some pretty nasty energies. I did ghost hunting for a while to assist those energies to cross, and I did meet some who did push me around a little bit, but it wasn't evil, they just were pissed off. They just were, you figure somebody who was mad here and then leaves, let's say, by whatever circumstances, they're still going to be mad, right? And they're going to choose not to go into those higher energy levels because of damnation, because they feel they're going to go to hell, because of whatever. The Catholics put themselves into purgatory. I've met a lot of Catholics who have passed, who have put themselves into purgatory, that in between space, because that's what they feel is where they need to be. So I personally have not. I can't say for sure that there aren't any, but I can say that my experience has been no demons allowed. Yes.
I believe that when we're children, we have such a profound sense of wonder.
Yes.
That we can truly experience life around us. As we get older, we lose that. Anything we teach us from day to, please teach them what it's like to be a child again.
Yes. What he said was, the children who come in are such wondrous creatures and so close to the other side. They come in without the veil almost. But as time goes on, we get the veil because it's not cool to see dead people. It's not okay to hear from your grandmother who's been gone for 20 years. That's just really scary for people who are around you. And so we shut it down. And we become more indoctrinated into our 3D world. So what he was saying was having JT, and he absolutely, that's one of JT's jobs, is to open people up again. Absolutely. And I want to, before I forget, because JT would have been 18 years old yesterday. His birthday was yesterday. He would have been 18. He left when he was 7.5, and he won't, he always says, I'm 7.5, not 7, 7.5. So he would have been 18. So his book is available for free download right now. These cards are over on the table. And it is a Kindle download, but you do not need a Kindle to view it. There is a little button on the side when you bring up the screen. It says, read from any device. And you click on that, and it will download an app for your phone or a program for your computer so that you can read this because he wants this in everybody's hands. And so I don't have any of these to sell tonight because they're free. They are available on Amazon if you are the kind of, wants a physical book. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I do a lot on Kindle, when I travel and things like that. It's just easier. I had it upside down. No, I didn't. Okay. So it's the one with the book cover on it. So be sure to take that and download it. It's only good through Saturday. Okay. Yeah. And then also, I do private sessions, and I have a sign-up sheet over there from my email list. If this calls to you, if you feel like you want to know more information, I send out great newsletters. JT helps me write them. You can opt out anytime, and I also provide coupons and things like that so that it's not as expensive if you wanted to come see me. We can do one more question.
I know the main thrust is losing a child, but is it other parts of your life? I've, in a way, lost a child, but due to a daughter-in-law, just a break. And it's just, and other things. Somebody kept on tapping me on the shoulder, and I didn't listen to the cancer thing. So it's, it's other things I don't understand.
So yes, it is all of those experiences. In some form or fashion, we ask to experience them. Okay, and it could be because we needed to experience being very uncomfortable. We needed to experience loss. What we do with this is we go back after we leave here, we go back and we go to our higher selves and we go to the universal energy and we say, guess what I learned? This rocked. I learned so much stuff this time. I'm so happy that I learned this stuff. That's really what we do. It seems like, again, crack, right? It's like, what are we thinking? But that's because we are here in bodies and we forget everything. We forget that we have done, that we have come in and asked for all this stuff. So, but honestly, yeah, there's a lot of people who have asked for some pretty crappy things, right? Yeah, to happen in your lives. Guess what? You're not newbies. Those of you who have had that stuff, you're not newbies. Okay? You are the experienced ones because you wouldn't have asked for it if you couldn't handle it. Right? Right. Thank you, everybody, for being here.